I still stop at convenience stores when I feel uncomfortable walking home at night, not because I need anything, not because I expect someone inside to protect me. I stop because one employee, working an ordinary overnight shift, noticed something that I didn't. I have often wondered what would have happened if he hadn't. I don't think I would be here to tell this story. It happened in the middle of October, just after I finished a late shift at a warehouse on the edge of town. My car had been in the repair shop for nearly a week, so I had been walking home every night. It wasn't ideal, but the route was straightforward. Most of it followed a 4-lane road before cutting through a quiet residential neighborhood only a few blocks from my apartment. I had walked it 4 nights in a row without anything unusual happening. The 5th night was different. It was just after 11:30 p.m. when I left work. The air was cold enough that I could see my breath. A steady wind pushed empty soda cups and dry leaves across the pavement. The warehouses behind me were dark except for a few loading docks where trucks were still being unloaded. I adjusted my backpack and started walking. For the first 15 minutes, I did not see another person. The road was almost empty. Every now and then a car would pass, its headlights briefly lighting the sidewalk before disappearing into the darkness ahead. I actually enjoyed the silence. Then I heard an engine. It wasn't unusual. Cars drove that road all the time. What caught my attention was how slowly this one was moving. I looked over my shoulder. An older white SUV was creeping along the curb about 50 yards behind me. It wasn't close enough to make me nervous, at least not yet. I assumed the driver was looking for an address. I kept walking. A minute later, the SUV passed me. The driver never looked in my direction. I barely noticed him. He continued down the road until he disappeared around the next curve. I forgot about it almost immediately. 5 minutes later, I reached the residential neighborhood. The streets became narrower, streetlights were farther apart. The houses sat back from the road with long driveways and dark front yards. That was when I heard the engine again. I turned around. The same white SUV was coming toward me. Only this time it was approaching from the opposite direction. Again, it slowed as it passed. Again, the driver never rolled down the window. Again, he kept going. I watched the taillights disappear into the darkness. A strange feeling settled into my stomach. Twice could still be a coincidence. People got lost. People missed turns. I kept walking. About 3 blocks later, I saw headlights reflecting off the windows of the houses behind me. I didn't even have to turn around. Some part of me already knew. The SUV had come back. This time, it didn't pass me. It stayed behind me, moving at exactly the same speed I was walking. I crossed the street. The SUV crossed at the next intersection. I turned onto another road. A few moments later, it turned too. That was the moment I stopped trying to explain it away. I wasn't being paranoid anymore. Someone was following me. I pulled my phone from my pocket. 4% battery. No signal. I laughed under my breath. Of course. I looked ahead. About 2 blocks away, I saw the bright red and blue glow of a convenience store sign. It was the only business still open. I headed straight toward it. As soon as I stepped inside, I felt a wave of relief. The fluorescent lights were almost painfully bright after walking through the darkness. An older man stood behind the register reading a magazine. He looked up as I walked in. "Evening," I nodded. "Can I just hang out in here for a minute?" He looked at me for a second, then toward the parking lot. "You okay?" "I think someone's following me." He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked over to the front window. He watched the road for several seconds. Then his expression changed. He quietly locked the front door. Every hair on my arm stood up. "What is it?" I asked. Without taking his eyes off the window, he said, "Don't look right away." My heartbeat sped up. "Why?" "Because if they're watching you, they'll know I'm warning you." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "There are 2 people inside." My mouth went dry. "The driver never looked at you. The passenger hasn't stopped." I slowly looked toward the drink cooler. Its glass doors reflected the front windows. I could just make out the SUV sitting across the street. The driver's head faced forward. The passenger's face was pointed directly toward the store, toward me. The cashier picked up the store phone. "I'm calling the police." As soon as he reached for it, the SUV pulled away. Not quickly, not recklessly. It simply drove off. The cashier still made the call. 2 officers arrived about 10 minutes later. They took my statement. The cashier gave them the license plate number. 1 officer offered to drive me home. I accepted without hesitation. As we pulled into my apartment complex, the officer slowed the patrol car. The white SUV was parked across the street, empty. The officer immediately stopped. Both officers got out. They searched the area. No driver, no passenger, nothing. The SUV had been reported stolen 3 days earlier. There were no fingerprints inside, no registration, no personal belongings, just an empty vehicle. The officers walked me to my apartment door before leaving. I barely slept that night. The following afternoon, a detective called me. He wanted to ask one more question. Has anyone ever been inside your apartment? I said no. He was quiet for a moment. Your landlord mentioned something. A maintenance request from last month. I frowned. What about it? You requested a light bulb replacement in your hallway. I never requested that. There was another pause. The maintenance worker said your apartment was already unlocked when he arrived. I felt every muscle in my body tighten. I wasn't even home that day. The detective. The work order wasn't submitted by you. Someone had requested access to my apartment using my name. Someone had known where I lived. Someone had known when I worked. Someone had known exactly which route I walked home every night. I moved within 2 weeks. I changed jobs. I never walked that route again. About a year later, I happened to stop at the same convenience store while driving through the area. The older cashier recognized me immediately. Before I could even ask how he was doing, he smiled and said, "You know, I almost didn't say anything that night." I looked at him confused. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because at first I thought you were imagining it." He looked out through the front windows for a moment before quietly adding, "Then I noticed something." "What?" He looked back at me. "The passenger wasn't watching the store. He was watching to see if you ever looked back." I have thought about those words countless times, not because of what they meant, but because I realized something. During that entire walk home, I never once looked directly into the passenger's face. Sometimes I wonder if that was luck. Sometimes I wonder if seeing it would have told me exactly why they chose me. And sometimes, late at night, when I catch headlights moving slowly behind me, I don't speed up. I don't look back. I find the nearest place with lights, people, and a locked door. Because one observant cashier taught me that surviving a dangerous situation isn't always about being brave. Sometimes, it's about realizing something is wrong before the person following you realizes that you know.